But like, what are you, we're counting everything, guys? Yeah, we're counting everything because we need to know where to spend money, where to not spend money, what's not working, what's working, all over the place. So, Rex, I want to shift gears a little bit here because you mentioned something earlier in our conversation that I think is kind of the bane of a lot of people's existence, and it's the ATS, the applicant tracking system. In your experience, are extras like a career snapshot or maybe letters of recommendation, things like that, do those necessarily lead to a better shot at an interview?
I wish I could answer that with certainty. I would like to hope that they do.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I've been doing with the career snapshots, and I recommend this to those that get them, is that when you do the online applications, some companies will give you the option of uploading additional documents. And of course, what they're expecting to get would be letters of recommendation. They would look for, professional certificates. If you've taken some coursework, they might look for, certificates of membership in professional organizations, that type of thing. Those are the perfect opportunities to upload a career snapshot because, boy, when that thing opens on the screen, that will get their attention. And again, the hope is that you hook them to take a closer look at you. And I believe the career snapshot will do that. But unfortunately, I don't have any metrics that would tell me that happens because, the company's only started in August, so we're awfully young.
Right. And that's okay. Then maybe that's something for the future for you guys, to find out what that metric is, that if you can, and I'm not sure how you'd suss that out from employers, but saying, if you get one of these, your resume is 47% more likely to be viewed by a hiring manager or something crazy like that. I'm not sure how you get that. I tend to be an idea guy sometimes, but I think that's pretty neat. So, and speaking of like feedback and things like that, what kind of research, HR backing, and other things has come your way with My Career Snapshot? What have folks been kind of saying? I know you touched on a bit of it earlier.
So the feedback that we've been getting has been primarily from recruiters. So recruiters love the idea. And I believe it's because it makes their job easier. If they have a client that's got a career snapshot and a cleaned up resume, it is easier for a recruiter to put those clients in front of hiring managers. And so I've been speaking with a number of recruiters as well as career coaches who are also on board. And thanks again to LinkedIn for making it easy to, to identify people like that. And so I have several recruiters that are actively referring clients, and I've started an affiliation with a career coach, and we're working on doing the same thing. So the market is definitely recognizing the value of the snapshot. And I hope to get to a point where we can, do some follow-up interviews with hiring managers to see and try to evaluate qualitatively what kind of impact the snapshot had. I don't know, we're a long way from being able to get quantitative data on that.
Right.
But, I would love to have a couple of positive anecdotes to pass along beyond my experience, which has been really good. It has definitely kicked open some doors that I didn't expect it to.
That's awesome. And
the
fun part is I've had a couple of recruiter guests on this show. I think we might have to introduce you to them because I think you could really, really gain some good insight from some great people that I know too. So again, networking, hey.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is. It is a beautiful thing. Rex, we're talking about, again, putting this with your resume, making sure that's kind of that add-on. What makes this a little bit different than a cover letter? That if we are looking in like an applicant tracking system and we see two applications, they both have add-ons. What's going to make folks kind of take a look more at this than maybe a great letter of recommendation?
My answer to that is that you've got to read the letter of recommendation. And the snapshot, you just have to glance at. And, we're at a real disadvantage here because our audience can't see what a snapshot looks like. And I hope that they take the time to go to MyCareerSnapshotcom and take a look, because if you've never seen something like this, it will surprise you at its simplicity and its visual impact, because the thing really does reach out and grab you. So I think that for that initial point of contact, I think the snapshot perhaps does the best job of anything that we've talked about to try to get a hiring manager on the line so that you can reel them in.
Got it. So it's that kind of that bright burst of attention grabbing, like, hey, you need to take a look at this. The other thing that came to my mind, Rex, is, we have show notes for this program on, recruitinghell.com. So we will definitely make sure that your snapshot is in those so folks can take a click through. And of course, we have the website for you as well there. So I see
Sure.
you might actually have it in your hand here.
Yeah, look at that.
That's actually pretty cool. And you know what? If we're lucky, we might actually snippet this little bit.
Sure.
For some of the visual stuff. So I know we talked about being on YouTube and things like that. And I said, it's going to be mostly audio, but we might just snippet that at some point. And I know I actually have a copy of your snapshot in my email inbox. So that'll definitely be something we can show people, because as we've said, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Excellent. Well, Rex, we're kind of at the end of the stuff that I've had. And I think we've walked through a great amount of your product and how it helps folks, and again, how networking and all of these things kind of tie together to potentially land somebody their next gig. I want to turn it back to you a little bit here. And while I'm not saying, hey, you're the new host of the show, because I do love this too much, this is something I really enjoy. What kind of questions didn't I bring up about either add-ons to resumes or MyCareerSnapshotcom that, what did I miss?
You know what? I don't think you've missed anything. You're a great host, and I could never do what you do. So your position is safe, at least from me. The one thing that I didn't expect, but I probably should have with Career Snapshot, is that it also has applications for businesses. Imagine many businesses have to pitch for their work, or they have to present to clients.
I see where this is going.
To get their work. And the same type of metrics can work for companies as they do for individuals. If you're a law firm, it's, how many lawyers do you have? How many years combined education does your team have? How many cases do you litigate? How much money have you won? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. A physical therapy practice, that could work. If you've got a lawn care company, same type of thing.
Right, 32,000 lawns mowed since 1997 or something like that, right? Yeah,
exactly. And it could work for a sales company, an equipment company, a construction company. I think that it would be a neat thing for companies to place on their websites, and
Absolutely.
I think it also works in proposal packets. And so that's a totally different angle than doing one for an individual, but actually the output's just the same. So that's also something for people to think about. And, for companies to spend $125, heck, they waste that in 3 months in Xerox paper.
Right. Or coffee in a week,
Coffee in a week.
I've worked at companies where there's been $125 worth of coffee drank a week. Seriously, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, I like coffee, so I can definitely understand where that metric comes from. As a matter of fact, I thought about putting 90 the number 90 on my own career snapshot because that's the number of cups of coffee I drink in a month. So I drink a lot of coffee.
That is a lot of coffee.
That's a lot of coffee.
The day we become a coffee podcast will be an interesting thing. But, and then I guess that kind of closes us out a little bit here, Rex. Were there any other questions that I missed before I kind of wrap things up here and tell them to buy Michigan maybe and see your site?
Oh, the one thing we didn't talk about, obviously I want to make Career Snapshot a going concern.
Yeah.
But there's another aspect to the company, which to me is important, and it's kind of a social aspect. I hate being out of work. I hate the way it feels. I hate the stress that it puts on me and my family. And I think that that's universal. If you're used to being employed and you're used to having a role to go to and being productive and, getting that paycheck and not having to worry about health insurance and all that, being out of work, and I'm sorry, I know this is a family show, but being out of work sucks. I hate it.
We can say that. We can say that. It does.
Say that. It just sucks.
It's the worst.
And, I genuinely hope that this tool can help people get back to work and get back to work faster. And and get away from all of those, all that darkness that goes with being, laid off or fired or furloughed and just, out of the job market. If this can help people get back to work, that's important to me. And I think that there's, a real positive social benefit to that. I want this to be able to help people because it's awful being without a job.
It is.
I don't see this as being, my full-time job. I'm actively trying to get back to, a position like I had before in communications, but I'm going to push this thing just as hard as I can to try to help as many other people get back to work as possible.
And that's so funny, Rex, because that's the exact same reason this whole show was made. That sentiment was the same thing as I said, I might be having some challenges myself, but helping more people get back to work, maybe that's the calling. And I think you have a very good angle on it, and I think that's why this was such a great fit between what your company does and what this show does, because it gets it out to folks who may have never heard of it. And I know from listeners who have reached out to me that people have gotten a job as a result of this show. And I have a feeling that if they head to your website, if they decide that it's a right fit for them to invest a little bit in themselves for a career snapshot, that they might say, oh my gosh, this thing landed me this rockin' position. So
I hope it does.
I hope it does too. And it's really neat to hear almost verbatim from you without having talked about it before, you and I, what your reasoning was for going into this. Because if you and I both said, what's your reason for doing the thing that we're doing, and wrote it down on a piece of paper, we would read it and they would be literally the same thing.
They would. Almost verbatim.
Awesome.
Well, I mean, it just shows the power of, a shared common experience.
Mm-hmm.
And, it is a pretty universal thing to hate getting laid off, to want to get back to work. While I'm grateful for, being able to have some kind of safety net and, my wife and I had saved.
Yep.
It's just, it doesn't make it any easier.
No, it doesn't. Well, we'll wrap things up here then, Rex. Again, you have a great product, and I really think it can help a ton of people. Closing out, you've mentioned your website a couple times, MyCareerSnapshotcom. Are there any social medias around that we should give a plug for?
You know what? That's it. I have been encouraged to work on an Instagram account for it. Haven't done it yet. Again, we've only been around since August, but it is something that we're going to work on probably later this month, and we'll see if we can't get a presence going there as well.
Gotcha.
But so far,
we should partner a little bit on that. Definitely happy to help you out, my friend. Seriously.
Well, I'll accept the help because there's sometimes that I feel very old and advanced in my career. With Instagram, that's one of the areas that I have a lot of learning to do.
It comes pretty swift, and there's the nice thing is that I thankfully, I don't have a huge presence right now, but there's a number of folks who I think follow me that would really benefit from following you, especially with this career snapshot thing. So that's awesome. So no social medias right now, but they're coming soon. Hopefully something like My Career Snapshot on Instagram and Facebook and other places like that. But Rex, we can find you again at what's the website?
MyCareerSnapshotcom.
Perfect. We didn't rehearse that either, folks.
Nope,
that's awesome.
Honestly.
But good deal. Well, again, it's been just a pleasure to have you. This networking thing worked out. And for our listeners too, like when you network with people and you really click, which I feel, Rex, I feel like you and I really click. Like I want to sit down and have 2-3 beers with you. Like that is really how the power of social media and the power of networking can take you forward. So I certainly hope if you're listening to this, you can find somebody like the dozens of people I've found over the past 3 months to network with and really start to build some great relationships and friendships with as well. So we'll close it out here on my end here for all things recruiting hell. As always, if you, a listener, have a question, a comment, feedback, you want to see a topic, you want something covered, you can drop us a line at the recruitinghellpodcast@gmail.com. And then, of course, you can visit us there on our new website, recruiting-hell.com. So please go there, click things. There are extras. There are things like show notes, blog articles. Follow us on the social media buttons that took me forever to set up. And while you're there, this is probably the biggest thing. There's a new newsletter coming out. I believe it is, first issue is coming out here on